Hey guys, it's GameFace here and welcome back to a FIFA 17 closed beta inside information video, specifically for career mode. Now in today's video, sadly I can't show you pictures or videos or anything like that of the closed beta. What I can do is talk about the closed beta, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. So the pictures that you're seeing on screen in the next few clips will be pictures that you've already seen sadly, but the information I'm telling you will be new stuff that you've probably not heard before. So before we get into things, if we could go ahead and hit 35 likes on this video, that'd be really appreciated. Also, if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. That'd be absolutely fantastic. So before I get into things, remember this is just a beta, so things obviously change, and there will be massive changes, I'd imagine, before the full game comes out at the end of next month. So that's something to bear in mind with quite a few things, and I'll probably mention that throughout the video, to be honest, as well. First things first though, the Premier League budgets are now pretty big. Man United have got around 105 million, something like that. Man City at 100 million. Again, this is subject to change for the full game when it comes out. This could well change, but about 100 million pounds for Man City. Crystal Palace around 45 million, I think it was, for Crystal Palace. I'll go through all the Premier League budgets and loads of different budgets from across the leagues in a separate video. I'm going to do that in the next day or two, hopefully. So let me know in the comments below what teams you'd like me to mention in that video. But basically the budgets have massively changed, but only specifically for the Premier League. Actually looking at the Championship, I think they've gone down slightly, at least they have on the beta. Again, it could well change going into the full game. I think it did last year, it changed from the beta to the full game. So don't necessarily take that as fact for the full game, but that's just a little idea as to what the budgets are like at the moment on the beta. And basically, the expectations and objectives that they've added this year to career mode are actually quite well thought out. I decided to test this by going on to Leeds and seeing what the objectives were for Leeds. And the objectives for their youth development, which obviously the Leeds fans that watch this are on my channel will know. Obviously Leeds are quite well known for developing young English players, and their expectation for youth development was high, so they expected us to do well and develop players and bring them through the youth academy and that sort of thing. So that kind of indicated to me the objectives and expectations are kind of quite well thought out on this game, and it seems to be the case for most teams, to be honest, that they've got them bang on, because you have different objectives, so you've got to try and meet. Some of them are short term, some of them are long term. So for example, one of them on a Man City career mode was to make £323 million from just the media. That's all it's specified, just the media, and that was across 3 seasons. So there's some long-term ones, and obviously there's your short-term regular ones like winning the league, winning the FA Cup, that sort of thing. So there's quite a few different objectives that they want you to meet. I think from what I've heard from other people, I haven't quite finished the season quite yet, but what I've heard from other people is that they are quite strict with those objectives. If you don't meet them, you get told about it. And you also have this rating as well, your manager rating, which starts at 80, and then depending on the decisions that you make and the results that you obviously get, that goes up and down and determines your job security, I suppose. So you get kind of like a rating. I think the lowest mine's been is about 72. Started on 80, it's gone up to maybe 83, 84, not that high to be honest, in comparison from where you start. But yeah, that is something that they've added into career mode again this year, another new feature that they've got. And they've not got loads of new features, but there's one or two kind of dotted around. The menus are massively different for career mode. Obviously the design of them changes every year, but also they've kind of rearranged things, and they've kind of changed a few different tabs around and stuff like that, so it takes a little bit of time to get used to. But the main thing that I don't like is the new look of the simulation. When you simulate matches or just advance on the calendar, it doesn't really look that good. It doesn't really contrast particularly well. They've made it quite simplistic and a bit too arty for my liking. So that's a little bit different, and not really very easy to get used to. It's a little bit annoying when you're trying to simulate and advance and that sort of thing. It doesn't look that great visually. But I do really like the objectives, and I'll go back onto them for the Man City side of things. The objectives were around brand exposure, transfer of 2-star players, sign at least 2 under 20-year-olds that have a potential that is a greater average than the players you already have in your squad, which seems a little bit of a wordy objectives to give you, but that's what they've done. And there was quite a few other objectives. I think there was 5 in total that you get per team, and they kind of get ranked as to whether they're very low, medium, high, and very high, or critical, whatever they call it. So there's different kind of rankings as to what they want you to get across your seasons in charge. Some of them are across 2 seasons, 3 seasons, and some of them are just within the season. And there's also a few other things as well. The changing of kits before a game is a little bit different now. It's almost on like a spin wheel kind of thing, a little bit more modernised. It's just a slight change. It's nothing huge, but I just thought I'd mention it. And there's new gameplay. It's massively changed. Obviously, Frostbite, we all know that's been included in FIFA 17. But there's also new gameplay as well. The gameplay is quite different, the style of play. I actually quite like it to a certain extent, but it's a little bit like PES, and I compared it to PES last year, I think, FIFA 16, when I was playing the beta. Again, it might change before the full game, but it's a little bit like PES. And World Class is now a bit more winnable as well than it was last year. For those of you who play on World Class, there's no keeping the ball at the back between the AI players. So that's definitely improved massively, which is really good. But when I say the gameplay is like PES, basically I mean it's a little bit more rigid when you're on the ball. You're able to pass a bit more accurately, which is great, because the passing I thought was dreadful on FIFA 16. I couldn't seem to pass it to anybody, and that's definitely improved, I think, from the beta. But again, the gameplay could well change before the full game comes out, because there's obviously a few different things that need to be ironed out again. But overall, gameplay looks quite positive. We obviously all know about the changes to set pieces and that sort of thing. It takes a little bit of time to get used to. Corners and free kicks are affected. Throw-ins are a little bit different. You can now move around a little bit to your left and right. So that looks quite good. Very positive though, those throw-ins and the new set pieces. Took a penalty for the first time, hadn't a clue what I was doing despite the help option that came up. I tried to do what it said, and I still scored it, but it just was a really strange run-up. But it's good that you can change the run-ups to your penalties, your free kicks, your corners. You can direct them a little bit better. Although saying that, I don't think you can really score from corners similar to last year. It was very difficult to score from corners last year, or at least I thought that anyway. And it's kind of the same this year, despite the changes to the corner system. But they're a little bit strange, and it does take, again, a bit more time to get used to, as at the start of FIFA 16 it did with many of their changes. But there's also, going back to the menus, there's also a new tab. I don't think it was included last year, but I've got a feeling it was in one of the last few FIFAs. I just can't quite remember which one. But there's something called a transfer history, and that's a different tab that you can go on to. You can have a look at your transfer history from your club and obviously other clubs as well. So that kind of just goes through loads of different deals. I'm sure they had it on one of the previous FIFAs, but I don't think it was last year. It might well have been the year before. But they brought back the transfer history tab, and you can go through and have a look at what sort of transfers you've made that season or in previous seasons, and kind of just go back and have a look at it. And also you can have a look at what everyone else is doing as well with the transfers, which is quite good. But I think it's only like the most recent 25 transfers that you can look at. So that's something to look out for. Again, like I say, the menus have slightly changed for career mode. So there are a few changes here and there. Your emails aren't given as a bigger section on your menus, so they're a little bit more squashed, the emails. I'm not a huge fan of that in the menus. But again, I don't know whether that'll be changed. Probably not, to be honest. Moving on to another thing, you can't ask for more funds from the board anymore. You used to be able to request more funds. That has gone, as far as I can see anyway. Looked through all the menus, can't find it. I don't know whether it appears on the second season or something like that. I'm not really too sure. Certainly was not there when I initially started, even though obviously you can't ask for more funds, and it definitely was not there in January either. So maybe they've decided to take that out, because I think you get money from shirt sales now and that sort of thing. So maybe they just felt there wasn't too much need to request more funds from the board. So that bit is gone, as far as I can see. And scout reports have actually changed. I was seeing a few other pieces of information across the internet about it not changing. Well, for me it's changed anyway. I'm sure the scout reports have changed and are very different for me from last year. So nowadays you can actually see exact attributes rather than having ranges for your youth players, which is quite good. You can't see what exact potential they have or anything like that. That's still in a range, depending on how much you grow them and train them up and that sort of thing. But you can see their exact attributes, which is quite good. And also, rather than having a long list of names, now you've got their actual player images next to them. It's a little bit like going on the transfer market and trying to sign players. When you search for players on there, it comes not as a long list of names, but it comes kind of with a little bit of their profile next to them. It's kind of done like that, but with the Youth Academy, if you know what I mean. So it's that sort of thing. Going back onto the gameplay a little bit, we've got the manager reactions that we've obviously seen in the trailers and that sort of thing. You actually have your own manager now. You can select from the managers before you start a career mode. But in the gameplay, you see a manager on the touchline, see his reaction occasionally, which is quite good. They've not overdone that too much in the games I've played anyway. They don't seem to cut to them every single chance, which is quite good. It's just occasionally when they cut to the managers and we see their reactions. They're quite realistic as well, the reactions that they give. So that's really good and just adds an extra element to the gameplay this year, which is really good. And I think it'll be quite good online as well. I think it continues on to like seasons, that sort of thing, with the manager on the touchline. Not too sure. I can only play career mode at the moment. I mentioned at the start that clubs seem to have much more money to spend. Like I said, Crystal Palace are around 45 million, I think it was, on the beta anyway. And yeah, don't seem to spend it. It's really weird. I got to the end of the summer transfer window and I was having like Sunderland spent 90,000, that was it. West Brom spent 250,000, Bournemouth has spent 500,000, and Burnley has spent like 2 million. So it was really weird. The only realistic one there was Arsenal. They barely spent anything. But no, there was quite a lot of unrealistic stuff. In fact, Arsenal, I think, had only bought in Mustafi. They actually bought him, which was quite a realistic signing, which was really good to see. Hopefully there's more of that, where obviously Mustafi is supposedly going to Arsenal in real life. Hopefully that happens more with transfer rumours, whether they can do that somehow to make it likely that they go on career mode as well. But yeah, he joined Arsenal, I think it was only for like 2 million or something, so the player prices were obviously completely wrong with it being a beta, and the clubs were spending very little despite having huge budgets. So it was a little bit disappointing, but again, something that'll probably be ironed out in the full game. But overall, to kind of conclude this video, I don't want to drag it on for too long. Obviously, I've tried to keep it down a little bit, this length of video, and I'll be doing a second one about the career mode budgets in the next few days. But overall, to kind of conclude, I think the new career mode look is quite fresh. Obviously, I've mentioned a few of the problems I think it needs to be changed before the full game comes out. But it's a little bit rough around the edges at the moment. I'm not really too sure what the budgets, how you can really affect the budgets. It seems like you're just kind of paying money out without really knowing how to make those amounts change, because obviously you can spend money on like your travel costs and things like that, and you kind of spend about 25 grand dependent on where the location is that you're going to, and so it seems like you can't really change a few different things, and it's a little bit difficult. How do you affect shirt sales and that sort of thing? Because you get money from shirt sales. How do you affect that? Do you just have to buy bigger players? Do they have to just perform well in game? It's not really said explicitly, and it'd be kind of helpful if they told you how you can affect shirt sales, because you get a little list of the top three players in the shirt sales, and it tells you how much money you've made from them and that sort of thing. It doesn't really tell you how you can affect any of these sort of things, which would be quite helpful if it did. But that's something, again, might be changed for the full game. I doubt it though, although I imagine that there'll be some sort of way to change it or affect those amounts that you're receiving. But I think overall it's a very positive start. When the full game comes out, it'll definitely be an improvement on FIFA 16, I'd imagine, for career mode at least. Not played Ultimate Team yet. I could do some sort of information video on that at some point, but I've not got access to Ultimate Team, the beta of that just yet, so I'll have to wait and see over the next few days. But that is pretty much it. That is all the information I've got for you. It was quite a long video, so apologies about that. And obviously the images that you've seen, you've probably already seen before from EA directly. So apologies, but hopefully I've given you some more information just from me talking. That is it for this video. Thank you all for watching. If we could go ahead and hit 35 likes on this video, that'd be really appreciated. Also, if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well. That'd be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I'll probably see you tomorrow for a video on the career mode budgets that are on the beta. I'll try and go through as many of those as possible. Let me know in the comments which ones you want me to mention, and I will. And yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.